MCQs are so near, the answers are so near, and how to go with the elimination. I have told you in my previous classes also. Okay. So again, we're gonna refer to the passages and take down the answers. Okay with you? So turn for Gauri to read the passage this time. I'm going to share it with
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Okay. And followed by reading by Hannah. Okay. Is it visible to you, Bacha? Hello?
Uh, yeah, these are the questions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. These were the earlier ones. When you were not there, you might have solved them, no? And
No,
they
ma'am.
were, no. Okay. Chalo, you do it this time. Okay.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
And here comes the passage which you're going to read, and I'm going to increase this font so that you are able to read it clearly. Okay, got it? Here it is, child.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Urban walking with no aim but sensation, the solitary pleasures of the flaneur is of course a recent phenomenon, a legacy of modernity. As Frederick Ross says in his book Length Ramble Through the Topic, a philosophy of walking, the urban stroller is subversive. He subverts the crowd, the merchandise, and the town, along with their values. The walker of wide open spaces, the trekker with his rucksack opposes civilization with the burst of the clean break, the cutting edge of a rejection. Well, maybe sometimes a stroll is just a stroll, and Gross misses other ambivalences of
ambivalences.
flannery. For instance, its too easy association with the male gaze, the cruising glance of appraisal that sizes up a shop window, and a
Mm,
pretty boy or girl in just the same proprietary manner. A Philosophy of Walking, already a bestseller in France and newly translated into English, alas with a number of ungrammatical sentences along for the walk, is not quite what its title promises. It is less a philosophy than an essay stroll through anecdotes about various big-brained walkers. We meet the usual suspects: Aristotle in the streets of Athens, uh, Kant on his watch setting daily round in Königsberg, Nietzsche striding the hills of Europe seeking relief for his syphilitic headaches, Proust's willful narrative of the Gourmet's way is briefly visited, as is Walter Benjamin's conflicted return to the Flannery of Paris, capital of the 19th century, in the Arcades project. Guy Debord's attempts at subversion via the situationist derive or drift through the city, rewriting its geography with movement itself, are mentioned, if not explored. Compared with reading a novel or watching a film, walking is at best a mild form of bracketing the burden of identity. I unglue myself temporarily from name and history, yes, but not to flow in the eternal current of life, whatever that is, rather to ask myself what I think I am up to, what I want from being here, the country walker who breaks with civilization, perhaps seeking thereby the sublime experience of being overawed by nature, still knows that the self can never be left entirely behind, for that self's desires are what brought you out of routine actions and into the special reflective clearing of the walk. Wherever you go, there you are. Consider the spiritual pilgrimage anyone's model of a walk meant to bring about transformation. It is subject to all these same tangles of self and its loss. Along the ancient route to Santiago de Compostela, for example, one may still find the range of human preoccupation driving the various pilgrims on from day to day. David Lodge, in his novel Therapy, 1995,
has the character.
has the Lawrence Passmore,
Mm,
afflicted by midlife crisis, attempts the walk while reading Kierkegaard. The philosopher's ideas seem to be enacted by the workers themselves, the ethical seekers after achievement of duty, so many kilometers a day. The aesthetic indulgers look at the view, and the religious knight of faith who pass through these stages and walk as an act of simple acceptance of the world. But Kierkegaard, the arch anti-Hegelian, would have known that such a resolution is too simple. We can never escape the conflicts of duty and pleasures, even in faith, nor can we escape ourselves in even the most purposeless journey. To be going nowhere in particular, still to be going. More to the point, sometimes walking is the burden, not the release. Few characters in literature walk more than Thomas Hardy's Tess, but she must do so from disadvantage, not in the interest of leisure or spiritualism. The suburban exiles who lack cars and live in districts poorly served by public transit, dodgily covering ground to fetch groceries from the nearest strip mall, are her modern descendants. They do not appear in the grocer's appreciation of bipedal motion.
Okay, very nice. So tell me the gist of it. What is it all about? In the beginning, it said Flonner, a man who saunters around, just observing the countryside, isn't it? And over here, what did he say? We can never escape the conflict of duty and pleasure, even in space, nor can we escape ourselves. Tell me, what is it about? What is the passage all about?
It's about how walking helps one release the burden, but in reality, we can never escape our duties.
Okay,
Yes.
Hannah, what about you, Bacha? What do you take out of this passage? What do you understand?
So
Yeah.
basically, I think what it's getting on is about the conflicts of, I think, more of personal interests, like what we are meant to do and what we would prefer to do.
Hmm. Acha, you being from CBSE, you might have read Journey to the End of the World. You might have read third level. Third level you have read?
I,
Flamingo, you might have
yes,
gone for.
ma'am.
Hannah, Vistas. I think it is in Vistas.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So what was the problem with that man? He used to reach every time a new destination, isn't it? From a different route. Third level was there. No one in the country knew that there is any kind of third level. They only knew about two levels at the central station.
Yes,
Remember?
ma'am.
Hannah?
Yes, ma'am.
So later on, what did we see? That his psychiatrist said that it was a refuge from his side to escape from the problems, whatever he was facing.
Yes, ma'am. He used to see the different worlds. There was a time he saw an olden time. He saw people wearing monocles and hats and all that.
Yeah. Hannah? Now over here, now I take just only one phrase from there: refuge from the present situation. Over here also, the author is taking us to such a world where people they roam around, different poets, authors, they have also taken refuge like that, isn't it? But at last he says we can never escape the concept of beauty and pleasure even in faith, nor can we escape ourselves in even the most purposeless journey. To be going nowhere in particular is still to be going. Why? Because your mind is not at rest at that, isn't it? So still your mind is moving and you're going to somewhere go. You're thinking about it. Your thoughts are taking you somewhere else. More to the point, sometimes walking is a burden, not the relief. Has it ever happened with us? No, we are not that heavy in our life, isn't it? But with some people who are facing so many troubles in their life, for them, walking can be a trouble. Few characters in literature walk more than Thomas Hardy says, but she must do so from disadvantage, not in the interest of leisure or spirituality. Leisure or spirituality. The suburban, leisure you understand, na, bacha? Both of you understand
Yes,
leisure,
ma'am.
है ना? Or spiritualism.
Yes, ma'am.
The suburban exiles who let cars and live in districts poorly served by public transit, logically covering ground to get groceries from the nearest strip mall are her modern descendants. They do not appear in gross appreciation of bipedal motion. Bipedal is walking the street. Right? Okay. So shall we discuss the questions now? You have already solved it. And let me see if you have marked the correct answers, then we will not elaborate it. In case the questions are answers are not correct, then we may go into the detail of it. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So which of the following observations about the flaneur is supported by the author? The author shares gross, basic enthusiasm of walking with preparation. The author does not think that the stroller is subversive. The author feels that the flaneur could be a male chauvinist or all of the above. You might have marked some
Ma'am, I
answers
was confused between A and B.
A and B. You were confused. Okay, what about Hannah?
Ma'am, I thought it's A.
Acha, here the answer is B. All of the above. All the 3 points have been covered, no? Gross, basic, enthusiasm, that has been covered in the first para only. The author does not think that the stroller is a subversive. This also has been covered. The author feels that the flaneur could be a male chauvinist also. This has also been covered. Hence, the answer is all of the above. All the points have been covered. Okay.
Ma'am, where has the male chauvinist point?
Okay, let us see. I'm going to scroll it down and we're going to check it. Okay. Male genre philosophy of walking already a bestseller. Then Hills of Europe. Hannah, if you could read this second paragraph for me.
A Philosophy of Walking, already a bestseller in France and newly translated into English, alas, with a number of ungrammatical sentences, Along for the Walk is not quite what its title promises. It is less a philosophy than an essay store through anecdotes about various big brained walkers. We meet the usual suspects Aristotle in the streets of Athens, Kant on his watch selling daily round of Königsberg, Nietzsche striding the hills of Europe seeking relief for his syphilitic headaches. Proust's wistful narrative of the Guermantes Way is briefly visited, as is Walter Benjamin's conflicted return to the Flaneur of Paris, capital of the 19th century. In the Arcades project, Guy Debord's attempts at subversion via the Situationist derive or drift through the city, rewriting its geography with movement itself, are mentioned if not explored. Consider the spiritual pilgrimage, anyone's model of a walk meant to bring about transformation. It is subject to all these same tangles of self and its loss. Along the ancient road to Santiago de Compostela, for example, one may still find the range of human preoccupation driving the various pilgrims on from day to day. David Lodge, in his novel Therapy, 1995, as the character Lawrence Passmore, afflicted by midlife crisis, attempts the walk while reading Kierkegaard. The philosopher's ideas seem to be enacted by the walkers themselves, the ethical seekers after achievement of duty so many kilometers a day. The aesthetic indulgers look at the view, and the religious knights of faith who pass through these stages and walk as an act of simple acceptance of the world. But Kierkegaard, the arch anti Hegelian, would have known that such a resolution is too simple. We can never escape the conflicts of duty and pleasure, even in faith, nor can we escape ourselves in even the most purposeless journey. To be going nowhere in particular is still to be going.
Hmm.
More to the point, sometimes walking is the burden, not the relief. Few characters in literature walk more than Thomas Hardy's Tess, but she must do so from disadvantage, not in the interests of leisure or spiritualism. The suburban exiles who lack cars and live in districts poorly served by public transit, doggedly covering ground to fetch groceries
Hmm.
from the nearest strip mall, are her modern descendants. They do not appear in Gross's appreciation of bipedal motion.
Hmm. Well, you're right. Nowhere the male term has been given. Right. Okay. So which of the following observations about the flounder is supported by the author? So you want is supported. So then these two are already supported. Okay. So question stands to be confusing now. Okay, here we go. Let us read first paragraph one second. Just one first paragraph. The 20 pleasures of the sonor is of course a reaching from the urban stroller. Okay, let us take it here now. Huh? Stroller is subversive. So it's stroller term used. Otherwise, it's a noun only. isn't it? He subverts, he, this is given na here. Then we can take it as a male. Gauri,
Okay.
na, he, everywhere he says he only, na. Okay.
Yes.
So now agreed, na? Okay. Otherwise, I was also getting confused with you. Okay. So both of you agree with this answer, all of the above. Yes or no? है ना?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, bachcho. The author of the passage would agree with which of the following statements on a philosophy of walking? Aristotle's ideas may be rooted in walking. Some sentences in the book are grammatically challenged. This has come at one place. Have you seen that? It is an it is an
Yes.
observation of parabolating philosophers.
Ma'am, I think it's all of the above.
All. Both of you agree with the same answer, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The author of the passage mentions bracketing the burden of identity to imply that by walking you escape from the very idea of identity. Is it like this? We seek anonymity in the crowded urban streets. We cannot renounce ourselves completely while seeking solitude among the multitude. The walking body has no history. So here we go. The term such a resolution would most likely correspond with this of the following: not being normative about the whole business of walking, solitary philosophizing, proving less amenable to the stall, solitary philosophizing, proving more amenable to the stall, walking, stimulating thought, being contingent, not necessary. While you were solving it, you might have taken the word meanings wherever you might have got stuck. Am I right? You did it sincerely, no? Like we do here in the class.
Yes, ma'am.
So you might have taken the word meanings of wherever you got stuck. है ना? And which answer did you reach after having understood the passage? See, rest not being normative about the whole business of working, this is not the answer. This is no way given. Now, solitary philosophizing is there. Okay? Less amenable or more amenable? Tell me.
More amenable.
More amenable. This is that. The author mentions Hardy's test in order to support the point that walking in the suburbs is the greatest unprized pleasure there is. Provide an example of walking being a slowly moving portrait of failure. Argue that not everyone contemplates philosophical agendas while walking. Make a case that walking is the best exercise in the world. So this is all eliminated. Now, out of these three, what is your answer? Over here,
C.
it is C. Yes, very good. See, over here it is given. Here he says, more to the point, sometimes walking is a burden, not the relief. Not everyone contemplates, oh, this world is so this thing. Oh, why everybody is like this? Oh, I need to learn. No, sometimes it is a burden for them. So he's not contemplating it as a philosophy. Rather, it is a pain for it. So, children, this one was a little easier one. So, instead of reading it, I'll first ask you the question. In case we are stuck, then we'll go. Otherwise, one more handout is there for today to be discussed. है ना? So, shall we go like that? Agree? No. Okay. You
Ma'am, if we can read to
ah,
understand.
better. Okay. Here we go. Start with that. Start.
At breakfast yesterday, I came across an article in the paper called Home Again and how changed it is. The article was by Mr. O.M. Green. Mr. Green, it would appear, has for the past 20 years been editor of the North China Daily News, and this occupation has exiled him from his native land for a period of almost a quarter of century. It is fitting and kind that Mr. O.M. Green should on his return tell us how he feels. He does not, I regret to say, feel very cheery. 24 years ago, he writes, I left an England sedate, complacent, and very well to do. I have returned to find that she is poor, harassed, and continually taking herself to task. I was a trifle hurt at this, but I continued reading. A few lines further on, Mr. Green said that two pillars of English life had, during his absence on the affairs of the North China Daily News, been knocked down, and what, I ask you, were these two pillars, the destruction of which Mr. Green so much regretted? They were the pillar of comfort and pillar of security. Having read as far as this, I agree with him that we have lost our compliancy, and our sense
Mm.
of security, but I disagree with
Complacent.
him.
But yeah, complacent.
Uh,
Complicit. Huh.
complacency and our sense of security, but I disagree with him that such loss in is in any way to be regretted. For all forms of selfishness, that stagnant, overfed form which we associate with the world complacency is the most atrocious, and of all forms of mental spiritual temptation, that which we associate with the term security is the most stultifying. A nation should live dangerously and ill at ease. The moment a nation begins to pat itself on its fat back and talk of safety first, the nation is doomed. And we, I am glad to feel, are not doomed in the very least. So much for Mr. Green, first pillar, the pillar of security. I am glad that it has gone. And as for his second pillar, the pillar of comfort, I disagree with him entirely and absolutely. In no way that pillar been damaged. It has, on the contrary, been forfeited and enlarged. We are all far more comfortable than we were in 1907. We shall all in 1960 be far more comfortable than we are today. For the luxuries of one generation seem but the crudities of the next, and I, for one, have a vivid recollection of what was called comfort in the 1907 when Mr. Green left these sedate and complacent shores for China. Such
Mm.
comfort or amusement as existed 30 years ago was devised and organized entirely for the enjoyment of the rich. It is a mystery to me how people of small income 30 years ago got any pleasure out of life. Even a gas ring was a comparative rarity, and those people who were fortunate enough to own a geyser were from time to time blown sky high into the air. Today, even I can manage a gas stove, and I toy with a geyser without a tremor of alarm. What in the old days did people of small incomes do with their evenings and their Sundays? There were no pictures in those days and no wireless. The theaters and music halls were distant and expensive. What did they do during the long winter evenings? They sat
Mm.
at home and read improving magazines, and on Sundays they would go for walks in the Battersea
Sea
Park.
Park. Mm.
For a small cost, they can dash out to Maidenhead and back, or see the bluebells crowding in the coppices of Kent. Let us not be blinded by the dull ache of unemployment to the fact that the standard of living today is, in fact, higher than in 1907, and that, in fact, the standard of comfort and entertainment is higher in England than it has ever been before. Let us clamor and strive to render it much higher, but let us not falsify proportions by saying we were more comfortable 30 years ago. We weren't. Mr. Green, I suppose, would answer this by saying that he was speaking only of what he calls the well-to-do. Yet I really doubt whether even they were more comfortable than their grandchildren are today. They were richer, more lavish, more magnificent, but were they more comfortable? One electric stove in a bedroom gives far more heat than those vast coal fires which two housemates in print frocks would fiddle with for hours. And above all, it is far more comfortable to have a bath in a bathroom than to enjoy the private baths, which the Victorians and the Edwardians found so complacent and sedate. The ceremony of such bathings were indeed fantastic. Either we have a decent bath, and by decent bath I mean the sort into which hot water can be turned by toe, or else we don't have a bath at all. How can Mr. Green say that we have declined in comfort? I find it profitable at periods of depression such as this, thus to consider the progress of human comfort. I look forward to the day when the poorest housewife will do her cooking to the turn of a switch, her washing by the turn of another switch, and will spend her days in hygienic armchairs observing on the televisor the events of the world around her. I confidently believe that in 60 years from now, the wife of the working man will actually definitely be far more comfortable than is today, and the wife of a multimillionaire. And I wish that day would hurry up.
that they would hurry up. Hmm. Okay, children. So we'll discuss the question. What is it all about? The comparison between.
So it's about an
Hmm.
author who writes that 30 years ago we were more comfortable, but
Hmm.
the reader is denying,
Hmm.
like putting out the facts of how we are more comfortable today than we were 30 years ago and how we'll be more comfortable in the coming future. So he does
Hmm.
not agree with the author's point of view.
Okay. So there is a kind of contradict between the two. And he states and he tries to prove his argument by stating different examples where now we are so comfortable having a bath just with the toe, having to move, not waiting for the alarm and all, isn't it? Life has become more comfortable. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So when the writer says, and I wish that they would hurry up, he is looking forward to the day when the multimillionaires would lead an extravagant life. All the people of England will be in their comfort zone. The poorest of the poor can lead a secure and comfortable life. The masses of the country will live a better life. Here the term has come now, and I wish that they would hurry up. What is he aiming at by saying this term?
See, the poorest of the poor can lead a secure and comfortable life.
But poorest of the poor, that is also included in the masses, no? So
Yes,
mass,
I was confused between C and D, but
huh, it is included in it. No? Poorest of the poor is included. Masses means great number of people will be having a better life. So Hannah, what is your answer, bacha here?
Ma'am, mine was D.
Okay,
The
so you both
masses.
are correct. Okay. The author says, and we, I'm glad to feel, are not doomed in the very least because the nation has not reached the level of complacency. The English nation is not entirely and absolutely dangerous thing. As a nation, they are not completely secure and smug. They are satisfied and humble as a nation. I have underlined while I was, while Gauri was reading it, I have underlined this answer. I'll show you. What is your answer? First of all, you tell me.
Ma'am, I was confused between A and D.
Okay, so A is the answer. Okay, so complacency term has come. I have underlined it as well. Okay, the nation has not reached the level of complacency. Got it? And what's the meaning of complacency? The level of satisfaction. Okay, so, okay, it's enough for me now. So the nation has not reached to that level. It's still they are working for the process. You agree? Both of you agree with me?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, should I show it to you what the complacency has come? Or you may go ahead with the next one. Okay, children, according to the passage, which one of the statements is not true? Not true. Okay, going to take care of it. Okay, Mr. Green believes that England was in self-congratulatory position in the year 1907. The author finds that the England of today is more comfortable than it was 30 years ago. The unemployment problem that exists in England today is of recent origin. The author believes that one of the priorities of a nation is that its people should be rest assured.
I think it's C.
Okay, what does Hannah think about?
Ma'am, can I see the first two options once again?
Yeah.
A.
Was it in a self-congratulatory position? Show me. It has come here. 1907 year, I remember it has come here. But was it so happy that time? See, it is here somewhere. 1907. No, it is 1960. So where is 1907? Come on, search for me 1907. Yeah, it is here. Okay. So it says, and for one, have a vivid recollection of what was called comfort in the year 1907. When Mr. Green left these sedate and complacent stores of thought. So it is. Was it this one congratulatory position at that time? Was they very happy?
No, ma'am, because that would be the reason why he left for China in the first place.
Yeah. है ना? So that cannot be the answer. Okay. Now, if I say second one, the author find. Achha, what is our question? Not true. According to the passage, which one of the statements is not true? The author finds that the England of today is more comfortable than it was 30 years ago. So this so he
It's
says
true.
it's true. है ना? Then over here, if I say the unemployment problem that exists in England today is of the recent origin. So Gauri, you said this answer and it is true or not? It is true. And we are looking for
Ma'am,
not we
unemployment come anywhere.
unemployment has not come anywhere. You mean
That's what, like, because that is why I chose this answer because unemployment never came anywhere.
this term
So
has not been used anywhere? Okay, I take your
I
point.
don't think so.
Okay. So let us read this D point. The author believes that one of the priorities of a nation is that its people should be rest assured. Is it the priorities of the nation?
Ma'am, it's the priority not of the author, but Mr. Green. Ma'am, I think that the author, it's not a priority for the author, but Mr. Green saw it as a priority instead.
You will take this as answer. No? It's not true. No?
Yes, ma'am.
You got it? What we are aiming at? Collectively correct answer, the nearest correct answer you will give. Sometimes the two options will be so near that you will have, it will be very difficult to judge between the two. Okay, and then you will start searching if these are too near, then the one, this unemployment, is it is also covered in it or not. When it comes to priorities, the author believes that one of the priorities of a nation is that its people should be rest assured. So priorities may everything is covered. No? And it is not true. According to the passage, it is not true. It is not gone. Because he
Yes,
argues
ma'am.
here, how can Mr. Green say that we have declined income? 28, the author believes that the condition of the British Isles now depicts a picture of magnificence, peace, faith, extravagance. What does it depict? What kind of picture it is, Bachchu? It has come, Bachchu. It has come. The term has come. You might have clicked.
Magnificence or cheer?
Cheer. It has come. It has come. Okay. Hannah, you have also got it?
No, ma'am, I thought magnificence.
You thought magnificence because that stands for beautification of it. है ना? But this
Yeah.
particular term has come. Okay. The author says the luxuries of one generation seem but the frugalities of the next. This is because the concept of sophistication changes and is relative. The ceremonious way of life is not appreciated by the next generation. Rituals have no place in the fast pace of life today. The younger generation cannot afford the luxury of the past.
A, the
A,
concept of sophistication.
very
B,
good. Everything covered in that. है ना? When it comes to concept of sophistication, everything is covered. Ceremonies are covered, rituals are covered, and cannot afford the luxury. Everything is covered. Okay. Now, Hannah, you also agree with this answer?
Yes, ma'am.
But yeah, now the term is the tone of the author of the passage is cynical.
Argumentative?
Acha, he is argumentative, but at last he says na, that the period would hurry up. Very
assertive.
the assertive is when I say straight away my point, whether you like it or not. That is negative, positive, both covered.
Is he cynical?
See, cynical is believing the worst of the human nature.
Optimist.
He is optimistic. Okay.
Ma'am, why is it not argumentative? Because the author is again and again
Argumenting against, contradicting against Mr.
the Mr.
Green.
Green.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
isn't it? He is argumenting and he's again and again proving that yes, we are in a comfortable position now, isn't it? So further, he also says that the masses to come are going to, I wish that they would hurry up. And what would hurry up? Comfortable than is today the wife of a multi-millionaire. I confidently believe that in 60 years from now, the wife of the working man will actually definitely be far more comfortable. This is being optimistic or not? Everywhere he has, debunked Mr. Green, and over here he becomes optimistic. So he proves his point very confidently and is very optimistic about the years to come. So the tone will be optional. Okay. So with this, we're gonna go with another handout film, and it is this. This is similar type of handout like you did this one, but since last week you were also not there, and I felt like you should be doing it. Huh? So I have taken it, and cautions you'll be asked about the tone and all. Say for example, the following paragraph and answer the question that follows them, and we can say the writer of the sentence is and then his tone. Like just now also we were confused, huh? Why this and why this not? Shall we start reading? First question will be read by, like alternate you will be reading. Okay.
All right, ma'am.
Okay. Start now.
Many working women and men are having to accept low paid jobs, both in emerging and developing economies, and increasingly in developed countries. Despite a drop in the number of unemployed in some EU countries and the US, too many people are still jobless. We need to take urgent action to boost the number of decent work opportunities of a risk intensified social tensions. And I think the writer is concerned.
Very good. Very good. He is concerned. Gauri, you also agree with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So next you read now.
Leaders have plenty of trouble learning from the lessons of history. Maybe it's because business and political leaders are supposed to be looking forward. As Warren Buffett once said, it's more important to look out of the windshield than in the rear view mirror. But a few looks in the rear view mirror of history would help leaders who have become embroiled in scandals and cover ups.
Hmm.
The meaning of the sentence.
Now here
uh,
it would be just a paraphrase. Okay. Now four meanings actually. Come on, Gauri, read it fast.
It seems that uh, that many leaders have to learn the lesson anew that the attempt to cover up the crime or scandal or misjudgment is often worse than the crime itself. The more
Mhm.
leaders try to distance themselves from what they've done or might have done, the less anyone trusts them.
Mhm.
Forgetfulness has been the Achilles heels of countless disgraced political and business leaders. A few
Mhm.
looks backwards may have helped leaders prevent the same mistakes that others have committed. Um, D.
D. Very good. Both of you agree with the same answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Here we go. Next one. Your turn, Hannah.
Yes, ma'am. Since the beginning of the economic crisis, Greece has been experiencing unprecedented levels of unemployment and profound cuts to public budgets. Health and welfare sectors were subject to severe austerity measures, which have endangered provision of as well as access to services, potentially widening health inequality gap. According to the given passage, the cause of widening health inequality gap in Greece is on account of A, the economic crisis, B, the unprecedented levels of unemployment, C, profound cuts in public budgets, D, profound cuts in healthcare and welfare sectors.
Hmm. Tell me what is the answer.
The economic crisis?
Who said this? Gauri said.
No, ma'am. Hannah said.
Hannah. Hannah. Okay. Gauri, what is your answer?
Profound cuts in the budget.
Okay. Now let me elaborate. Huh? Since the beginning of the economic crisis, Greece has been experiencing unprecedented levels of unemployment and profound cuts to public budgets. Full stop. Health and welfare sectors were subject to severe austerity measures which have endangered provisions of as well as access to services potentially widening health inequality. According to the given paragraph, the cause of widening health inequality, what is it, Dr.?
So it's B because they're specifically asking about the health inequality gap.
Hmm. Okay, so this is how you have to catch it. So here we go. Question number four.
Indian Medical Association President Dr. K.K. Agarwal said that there has been an error of judgment in the case wherein a 22-week premature baby was wrongly declared dead. The expression error of judgment means gross negligence, being above the law, making a mistake, making an unwarranted assumption.
Hmm. What is this?
Making an unwarranted assumption?
They have assumed wrongly that the child is dead. But take the literal meaning of error. What is the literal meaning of error?
Making a mistake.
Making a mistake. So this is wrong. Come on, next one. Who's turn to read?
All is grist that comes to my mill, smiled the unscrupulous investment banker. The tone of the statement in quotes is, I think it's acquisitive.
Very good. Very good. It's acquisitive because what he says, everything can be made useful. All is this that comes to my mill, that is, everything can be made useful. Okay. Come on, next one, please read.
Psychologists claim that leading a double life is not as uncommon as you might think, and
Mm,
many of us lead very different public and private lives. The phrase double life in the context implies
mm,
living without boundary, live a
mm,
life abounding in material comforts and luxuries, lead
mm,
two separate and very different lives, appear to
mm.
be a different person to different individuals.
Interesting. So what is the answer? Is not as uncommon as you might think. Many of us lead very different. Huh.
Is it C?
Yeah, it is see. It is see. It's not a difficult. Many people are doing it. Okay. Living without boundaries cannot be. Live a life abounding in material comforts? No. Appear to be a different person to different individuals? No. It is living two separate lives. Appearing different person to different individuals, that is, that is behavioral disorder. But living two different lives, many of people are doing. Okay. So this is tends to be the answer. Question number 7 is to be read by Hannah.
Yes, ma'am. Start.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Coaches extol the virtues of it and argue that without it, success is impossible. Players will do anything to develop it. But what exactly is killer instinct? It seems to be the ability to close out matches when one is in a winning position, the ability to finish off a point or an opponent when the opportunity presents itself. Why does the writer suggest that killer instinct is critical to success in sports? Players at all levels have experienced the agony and frustration of failing to put away a match. When a player is totally in command of the match and on the verge of victory, he or she gets into a major comfort trap. Many players fail to realize that being close to an easy victory is actually one of the most vulnerable positions in the game. Even slight self satisfaction on the part of the leader, combined with the gritty determination of a wounded opponent, can change the match dramatically. And if you let negative thoughts and fear of choking also intrude, you can expect a major turnaround. I think it's option D.
Very good. It is option. What about you, Gauri? Do you have a different point of view?
No, ma'am, I also think it's D.
Very good. Here we go with the next one. Yeah.
When Egyptian President Hosni
Mm,
Mubarak was chased out of power by the Tahrir Square
mm,
demonstration in January-February 2011, a wave
mm.
of hope swept across the Middle East and around the world that finally democracy would overtake the religious hitherto authoritarian regimes. 6 years later, it is clear that hope was a false dawn. From Bahrain to Syria to Yemen to Libya, popular upstrings led to harsh reprisals and escalating levels of violence that continues to this day. The figure of
Definitely.
speech used in paragraph is a
Mm.
metaphor, simile, irony, or paradox.
What is the meaning of metaphor?
To compare,
Comparison. This is also simile, also comparison. Irony comes for when? What is the meaning of irony? The irony of the situation is you are having something in front of you and the result is just the opposite. Okay. And what is the meaning of paradox? When two contradictory things are arranged together. Now, what is the figure of speech used here? I'm going to read it and then you're going to get it. Okay. When Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was chased out of power by the Tahrir Square demonstrations in January, February 2011, a wave of hope swept across the Middle East and around the world that finally democracy would overtake the regions hitherto authoritarian regions. 6 years later, it was clear that hope was a false dawn. Okay? From Bahrain to Syria to Yemen to Libya, popular springs led to harsh reprisals and escalating levels of violence that continues to this day. क्या है ये? What is it? They were taking it as a hope, but actually it turned out to be a false dawn. What is it?
Ma'am, is it irony or a paradox? I'm confused between C and D.
But it is a metaphor.
All
False
right.
dawn, metaphor. They have given straight away a name. है ना? This is the difference between simile and metaphor. Although contradicting notions are there in this, है ना? That's a can be paradox as well. Irony is also there, like somewhere we feel positively they were thinking and the negative results came out. But still the clear indication is that of metaphor. Very close they all are. Only simile can be eliminated straight away because nowhere like term has come. Okay. Otherwise these three were very close. And the correct answer is metaphor. Okay, Vachu, we go with the next person. Please read it. Kenya's person.
Kenya's Jocelyn Jepkosgei broke her own 10-kilometer road world record in Prague on Saturday, becoming the first woman to run the distance under 30 minutes off the track. The 23-year-old ran 29 minutes 43 seconds at the Burel Prague Grand Prix to eclipse her previous record of 30.04 set in the Czech capital in April. The
Hmm.
underlined part of the sentence implies Jocelyn Jepkowski ran 10-kilometer road under 30 minutes. Jocelyn Jepkowski set a new record for the 10-kilometer road run. Jocelyn Jepkowski created a new world record for the 10-kilometer road run.
Hmm.
Jocelyn Jepkowski smashed her own record for the 10-kilometer road run.
Hmm.
I think it's option D.
Very good.
She smashed her own record.
Yes, yes. Both of you have got the same answer, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go for the next one, please.
In terms of women in film, English is perfect in its treatment of minorities. However, I think it tries harder than it succeeds. The first minority we see is the NRI, anyone of Indian origin living outside of India family, who seem to have all but completely rejected their Indian culture to an extent that most Indian families living in America haven't actually reached. They are holding a fairly traditional wedding, but they also speak primarily in English, eat almost solely American, well, Mexican foods, and are overjoyed to marry their daughter off to a white American man who is openly ignorant about their culture and not making the slightest effort to understand it.
Hmm.
Uh, there
Wait,
are
no, no, he says, wait, you guys are
uh,
gonna give me a dowry, right? There are
uh,
families, right?
like this in America, sure, but there are also many immigrant families who are still very tied to India and who already have a difficult enough time dealing with being trapped somewhere between the two cultures. According to the author, how has the NRI family been portrayed in the film English? The NRI family is portrayed positively. It is portrayed misleadingly. It has no culture issues or
Hmm.
it has no identity issues.
Hmm. Okay. So what is your answer? Has it been portrayed positively?
No,
No. Has it has no cultural issues? They can marry their daughter,
yes.
है ना? And they have no identity issues. It's nowhere I can
They
see.
have because they are trying to fit into
Hmm.
the culture of
System,
America. So they
culture,
have identity issues.
they have. So we are stuck between two options: portrayed misleadingly or no cultural issues. Now, overall, when you read how the author has portrayed them,
As a family who's trying to change
but they are
their
but they are misled on it. From them, a person is asking, wait, you guys are going to give me a dowry, right? There are families like this in America, sure, but there are also many immigrant families who are still very tied to India and who already have a difficult and are still very tied to India and have a difficult enough time dealing with being trapped somewhere between two cultures. How are they portrayed? No culture तो आया नहीं ना. See over here, they are trapped between two
Yes.
cultures ना. So no culture is not there. They have a culture issue. They are trapped between it. So we're left with this answer, no? Misleadingly, they have been portrayed. Am I able to take your focus on the particular answer or not?
Yes, ma'am. So we basically use elimination to
Elimination. We go with the
correct.
persistence elimination. Okay?
Yes.
And it is simple. Come on, read the next one. Whose turn it is? I think what Hannah's turn. Hannah?
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Continuing on their highly forgettable journey through the Mediterranean, the Indian sailing duo of Malav Shroff and Sumit Patel remained at sea in last place after the 15th and penultimate race in the 49er mixed open double hand dinghy Olympic regatta in Athens on Tuesday. The idiom at sea means A
Actually,
to be anchored,
mm, mm,
B to be stranded, C to
mm,
flounder, and D to be composed.
okay. So you already know the meaning of this term to be anchored, isn't it? You already know the meaning of to be standard. You already know
I
compose.
think
It is
I think it's B or C, stranded or flounder.
C. C is the answer. It is highly confused. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You also agree with this? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please read the next one.
Although the Pepsi commercial featuring Madonna, the pop star, intended to promote Pepsi, the soft drink, she did
Mm,
not bother to hold even a can of the product, thus making it clear that Madonna, the pop star, was going to do it her way, no matter what Madonna, the businesswoman, had agreed to do. The above paragraph means that the Pepsi commercial served to enhance Madonna's reputation as a shrewd businesswoman, someone who knows how to sell a concept. Before
mm,
Madonna's deal with Pepsi, pop stars in general were not given much artistic freedom by sponsors. Madonna
mm.
made it a point to have the commercial be dictated by her. Madonna maintained all along that the Pepsi commercial and her pop music were two different commodities, and she was right in standing her ground.
So this is clearly eliminated.
Yes.
Okay. Now between these three, the Pepsi commercial served to enhance Madonna's reputation. No, nowhere it has come. Before Madonna's deal with Pepsi, pop stars in general were not given much artistic freedom. Is it given anywhere?
It's not mentioned anywhere.
So what is our answer?
She made it a point to have the commercial her way.
Okay. So she dictated her way. So with this student, we come to another set of questions and it reads, select the option that best restates the given. Again, like similar type of sentences, but kind of summary will be there and you're gonna select the correct answer out of it. So we're gonna go the way we are doing it, children. It is somewhere 8:10, 8:15. And let me see how many questions are there. Okay, so till here 19, 13 to 19, and then there is a passage. So passage I may again give you as homework to do, and next week we may discuss it. What do you say? Use this type of question,
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? And we shall discuss these questions. Or if you say I may leave these questions for you to do, and just now begin with passage. As whatever you say, passages we have done two in the beginning. है ना? So better we go with this side. What do you say?
Yes, ma'am. We can do the questions.
Questions. Okay, there we go. Come on, whose turn to read it? Come on, start.
In India, railway lines cross elephant habitats in several states, with accidents that resulted in more than 200 elephant deaths in the recent past. The network of the Indian Railways cuts through elephant habitats, resulting in fatal collisions of trains with elephants. Train elephant accidents occur probably due to an increased frequency of elephant movement near the railway track. Elephants are prone to accidents possibly because of behavioral characteristics that make them cross railway tracks more
Well,
frequently. The speed of trains should be reduced to reduce the frequency of elephant accidents near railway lines.
what is the answer?
A.
A. Very good. A is the answer. You both have got the same answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Here it goes, students.
Yes.
Very nice, student. Come on, whose turn to read now next? Come on.
Eco-poetics is the making and study of pastoral poetry or poetry of wilderness and deep ecology or poetry that explores the human capacity for becoming an animal as well as humanity's ethically challenged relation to other animals. One of the chief characteristics of eco-poetry is that it is connected to the world in a way that implies responsibility. Ecopoetics explore the way in which we imagine and portray the relationship between humans and the environment in all areas of cultural production.
Hmm.
Ecopoetry is poetry that investigates the relationship between nature and poetry and the
Hmm.
intersection and implications thereby of human and animal lives. An
Hmm.
ecoform is environmental in that it is ecocentric, not anthropocentric. Human interests cannot be the
All
be all and end all of
FN.
an ecoform.
Ecopoetic is the making the study of pastoral, poetry of wilderness, deep ecology, poetry that explores human capacity to becoming a human. What is the answer to it? Out of these? Study, wilderness, explore, becoming, that is investigate.
The relationship between nature and poetry.
Hmm. So what is
So
our
see.
answer? C. Okay. We'll have to cover the keywords every time. Okay, please start reading, Hannah. I think it's your turn.
Yes, ma'am. It shouldn't be surprising to find out that celebrities often grow broke. They live like they're making millions a year, but that's usually not the case.
Hmm.
Some celebrities didn't realize they were running low on money until it was too late.
Hmm.
Most people think that famous people are just rich and they have no idea where that money comes from. So, regular people make a lot of assumptions about celebrity bank accounts. Very few celebrities understand economics and budgeting. Someone might be famous, but that doesn't mean that they're still making money. Sometimes celebrities make a lot of money really quickly and then make almost nothing for several years, but keep on spending money like it's still rolling in. Some celebrities fall from financial grace. I think it's option C.
And what is your
Or
answer, Gauri? You said or it can be.
A, C or A.
Okay, and Gauri, your answer.
B.
Okay. So now let us elaborate it. Huh? Here it says, it shouldn't be surprising to find out that celebrities often go broke. They live like they are making millions a year. They live like, but that's usually not the case. Celebrities didn't realize they were running low on money until it was too late. Some celebrities fail from financial grace. Kata.
Ma'am, how is it financial grace?
Grace, grace, otherwise, grace in our terms would be being graceful. But for them, it's show off, the financial show off. If I
Yeah.
elaborate, most people think that famous people are just rich. So this is straight away eliminated. It is not there. They have no idea what the money comes from and all that. This is not related to us. I know. Because we are going to go give the paraphrase of it. Very few celebrities understand economic and budgeting. It is true, but doesn't imply with the textbook. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? It is
Yes,
true, but not relating us with the passage which is there. Sometimes celebrities make a lot of money. Yes, this was given at one place, but it is not fully correct. It is partially correct. The sentence which sums up the whole thing is celebrities fail from financial grace. Shall I go ahead with the next question?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, here we go. Come on, start reading. Whose turn?
The goal of sustainable development is to provide an enabling environment for access to opportunities, focusing on the most vulnerable and excluded population groups in ways that are sustainable from economic, social, and environmental standpoints.
Mm.
Sustainable development enables countries to integrate environmental considerations into development plans.
Mm.
Sustainable development tackles poverty and inequality while enhancing production technologies to
Mm.
enlarge people's choices.
Mm.
Sustainable development enables access to opportunities among the most vulnerable with a holistic agenda.
Mm.
Sustainable development ensures that natural wealth is used to promote economic recovery and livelihoods.
Mm. So, what is the answer? The goal of sustainable development is to provide an enabling environment
See,
for see, you both have got the same answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we go with the next one. Please read it fast.
Meteorologists face extreme difficulty in forecasting the weather, which is so sensitive to changes in atmospheric conditions like pressure and temperature that it cannot be accurately projected more than a few days in advance. An estimation of the temperature that is off by just a fraction of a degree Celsius leads to a cascade of errors later, making predictions that look out beyond a few days, but less than a few weeks, particularly challenging. Weather protection Weather prediction is an extremely difficult problem because while meteorologists can predict the weather for short periods of time, a couple of days at most, beyond that predictions are generally poor.
Mm.
Long-term weather forecasting is doomed because of sensitive dependence on initial conditions. Weather prediction models are inaccurate because knowing the precise starting conditions is impossible, and a tiny change can throw results off balance. The weather must turn on a dime, as a tiny change in the initial conditions has enormous long term implications.
Mm. What is the
Is it
answer?
option D?
Think more, think more.
B?
Why? Is doomed. Here it says doomed. So has the author been so negative?
No, ma'am.
Because no. So
oh,
out of
ma'am,
these,
can you show the
press it again.
paragraph once?
Yeah. Extreme difficulty in forecasting. This term to be taken care.
A.
Then he says cannot be accurately projected more than a few days in advance. Now in A you are saying weather prediction is an extremely difficult task. Agreed. है ना? Extremely difficult task. Then let us see here what it comes. Doom, that we have already eliminated. The weather must turn on a dime. The weather prediction models are inaccurate because knowing the precise starting conditions is impossible. And the tiny change can show results of balance. What is that?
C.
See is done. Okay. Here we go with the
Ma'am,
next.
but here, how do we decide between A and C because both are very close?
Both are well. Okay. So here the terms we're gonna consider. Models are inaccurate. Knowing precise starting condition, it has come here. Meteorologists face extreme difficulty in forecasting weather, which is so sensitive to changes in atmospheric conditions like pressure and temperature. That it cannot be accurately projected more than a few days in advance. An estimation of the temperature that is off by just a fraction of a degree Celsius leads to a cascade of errors, making predictions that look out beyond a few days but less than a few weeks, particularly challenging. So extremely difficult it takes it in, you know, like it gives the gist of it. But further he says because while meteorologists can predict the weather for short periods, a couple of days at most, beyond that predictions are generally wrong. So here he has been positive quite about it. And here if you see, this altogether covers the press. That's it. Models are inaccurate because knowing the precise starting conditions is impossible and a tiny change can show results of that.
Okay, got it, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
In the Netherlands, a tiny low-lying country where much of the land has been clawed from the sea, people like to say that while God may have created the world, it was the Dutch who created Holland. The
Hmm.
Dutch seek to claim more land from the sea to house an expanding population. In the Netherlands, the Dutch have reclaimed substantial land from the sea. Dutch companies have gained renown in recent years by helping other countries reclaim lands from the sea. The Dutch need to confront a new threat to their lands, the specter of rising ocean levels associated with global warming.
Hmm. In the Netherlands, a tiny, low-lying country where much of the land has been clawed from the sea. People like to say that while God may have created the world, it was the Dutch who created Holland. The Dutch created. What is the answer?
B.
What did you say? B.
Yes.
Now, think more about it. See, here he says, clawed from the sea, people like to say, while God may have created the world, it was the Dutch. Like people are positive about that. So what it has gained, what it has gained? It has gained renown now. People are very positive
Okay.
about him and they say that he has created Holland. So helping, by helping other countries, reclaiming land from the sea. So this is your answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but can you do?
Used as a means of controlling undesirable populations, immigrants, people of color, poor people, unmarried mothers, the disabled, the mentally ill, the despicable, federally funded sterilization programs took place in 32 states in America throughout the 20th century. Many sterilization advocates in America viewed reproductive surgery as a necessary public health intervention that would protect society from deleterious genes. Coerced sterilization of degenerate stock is a shameful part of America's history. Driven
Hmm.
by prejudiced notions of science and social control, sterilization programs in America informed policies on immigration and segregation. Eugenics was a commonly accepted means of protecting society from the offspring, and therefore equally suspect of those individuals deemed inferior or dangerous: the poor, the disabled, the mentally ill, criminals, and people of color.
What is the answer? It's a like fact. It has happened in America. Okay. And
Ma'am, is
over
it option B?
option B, very good, Bachcha. It is option B. It is okay. And today, after the class gets over, you may read it in detail from Google, and you'll get to know it's absolutely correct and very same thing. It's a dark spot on the history of America. Okay. So, Sunam, having done this, we come to the end of class. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.